Hello, Ken. How are you this fine afternoon?
Daniel, I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I am excellent. So, what we need to do is give ourselves a break. Give me a break, Ken. What is this all about?
You're going to lead off and tell us, aren't you, Dan?
I will do that. So, give me a break is about taking breaks. It could be breaks from your workday, breaks from an extended period of time working. It doesn't even have to be work. It could be life, right? Give me a break from the day-to-day activities that I do in life. So, Ken, why don't you give us your thoughts on that fine idea?
So here's my first one. Give me a break at the very beginning of the day. Give me a break at daybreak. My husband and I have been together for 27 years, and from day one, we have started our morning with a coffee break together. No cell phones, no TV, no radio, no electronics whatsoever. Just me and Bob, a cup of coffee, about 20 minutes or so. We relax over a cup of coffee before we both go our separate ways and begin our workday. So for us, giving ourselves a break means starting with the foundation of one another and then building on that. I have found that to be like just the key to having a great day. And when I'm out of town traveling on business, we'll do coffee over the phone together, but we always start our day together. That's my first suggestion.
Great minds think alike. That's where I was going to start as well. And many of you may already know this, but the word breakfast comes from breaking your fast because you haven't eaten. So we're taking a break from our fast of having not eaten since whenever we ate last, hopefully dinner and not like a late night snack. But in either case, you take a break even when you eat, if you eat breakfast and you don't fast in the morning. So, no, I'm a big proponent of a morning routine. And if you were to look this up, just do a search or watch a bunch of videos about people who recommend morning routines, all of them will recommend a morning routine free of this device, right? They'll say, don't have your phone be the first thing you look at because it breaks the good night's sleep, hopefully, you got with something that can invite in stress response, right? And that stress response can be an email that has an urgent need, right? Or something that people are acting like there's a fire or dramatizing something. Or it could just be the news. You might just think you're reading a news article and news is meant to chase fires. So you might be reading about some bad event that happened that frustrates you or irritates you. And all of those do one thing and they do it very poorly. And this is the intended purpose. It's to induce the stress response. It's to make you feel like, oh, like this is important enough for me to pay attention to. But in fact, if you go back to control the controllables, that serenity prayer, most of the things you could read in that email or listen to or watch on a news thing will be something that you have no control over and you can't change at all. So take a break from the news or from email or from these supposed urgencies or dramas first thing in the morning and pick something else. Make your break something enjoyable, like Ken mentioned, a cup of coffee. For other people, it might be prayer, meditation, or Ken might do all of those things. But the point is pick at least one, if not a few things that you do, and just make it that your routine. But the thing you want to eliminate is this: you want to eliminate the phone that can cause a stress response. So take a break first thing in the morning from the stress response that we can all experience.
So during the day, there was this popularized thought that if you just keep pushing through, if you just keep going, if you work harder, if you work longer, if you work faster, you're going to be more productive. There was an equation that said hard work, greater amounts of it equals productivity. The opposite is actually true. And that is that if you take a break, if you give your mind a chance to come to rest, you're going to be more productive, you're going to be more creative, and you're going to be more profitable. More productive, more creative, more profitable if you take a break. Why is this? It's because although our minds are extraordinary, you look at the inventions over history, you look at what's being created now, you look at the amazing gains that we've made as a species, we recognize that our minds are phenomenal. And yet they cannot go at 100 miles an hour indefinitely. They require break time. And in fact, if you take a look at some of the greatest thinkers, the greatest inventors, the greatest poets, the greatest writers, the greatest artists, architects, whatever, over time, you'll find that they tended to have these bursts of creative energy, and then there were periods of quiet. We can kind of emulate that by simply taking a break during the day. There's a reason that there should be a mid-morning break and a mid-afternoon break in addition to taking a lunch break. And so my advice is don't push through from morning until noon and then hopefully just take a lunch break and push through again until the end of day. Take a mid-morning break, take a mid-afternoon break. That means get away from your computer if you work at one during the day. If you do some other kind of work, it means get away from that. The whole idea is to create a tiny little retreat for yourself. This could be 5 or 10 minutes to leave the building if you're working in an office, leave your house, walk around the block, clear your head, get some fresh air. If you've got a dog or a cat, play with the dog or the cat. Do something to shift yourself from what you're doing, put your mind in a different space, and allow it to come to zero. Don't take this with you. To Dan's earlier point, you have to disengage. For a break to be as effective as possible, you actually have to disengage. So that mid-morning break or that mid-afternoon break, get that scheduled in. And for those of you who aren't disciplined enough to follow it without putting it in your calendar, put a calendar reminder in, break time, and then honor it like you would any other meeting. The more you honor stuff for yourself, the more you're going to respect yourself, the more others will respect you, the better you'll feel about yourself, and the more productive and creative and profitable you're going to be.
Take a siesta. Take a siesta. So my first job right out of college, I was in a management program where we had I'll call it high stress, very busy work from, I think we started at 7 a.m. And so every time we got a lunch break, I was so excited. It was an hour lunch break. And so a friend of mine, who I've known since kindergarten, we worked in the same office together, and we literally would eat lunch in 10 minutes. And then we literally went into a break room and put a blanket over, like our own heads, and then just laid there and took a nap and told somebody, come wake us up when our lunch break is over. And we took that afternoon siesta like they do, I think, in Mexico or South American countries. And I will say that, and they've proven this to be true, that any sort of break where you actually can take a quick nap or rest is some of the best times to clear your mind, right? So, and really reduce that stress or eliminate the stress you felt during that workday leading up to that point. So not just take breaks, but take a siesta if you can, like take a midday nap. If you work out of your home now, that's even easier to do. If you work in an office, you could go out to your car, right? And you could just tell somebody so they don't think you're hurt or something's happening in your car, but you can go out to your car and, push your seat back and recline it, and then just sit there and take a nap. Just set an alarm so you go in and you don't miss what you're supposed to be working. But I say take a siesta as your midday break or your around lunchtime break. I think it's a great way to really clear your mind and give yourself a great break. One of the companies that he's consulting for, I brought this to the CEO, and he reluctantly agreed and eventually saw like the great value in it. But I said, there's a thing that everybody should take every hour, and it's called a state break, like a state of mind break. And at first, when you just say it, it sounds like, why? Why do people need that, right? And so I showed a bunch of articles and studies that showed how powerful this was, just like Ken was describing. But what I referenced it to was, I started with a question. I said, are there any people in this building or any people who work here who smoke? And of course, the answer was yes, there are still people who smoke. And I said, do you allow them to take smoke breaks? And they said, yes, we do. And I said, where do they go for smoke breaks? And they had a place, because they couldn't smoke in the building, where they would go out to this little courtyard, and they had this place designated for people to take a smoke break. I said, how often do you think they take those in a day? And they said, I don't know, 3-4 times. And I said, yep. And I said, possibly more, but let's just say you don't have any issue with that, right? 3 or 4 times a day, people taking smoke breaks. I do not. Well, if we want to provide like equality or equity for all of these people who work in your building, shouldn't we allow them the same benefit of taking a break and get the same benefit of even though it's toxic stuff they're breathing into their lungs, just breathing, right? Like getting away from the desk and breathing, which is a benefit to those people who smoke besides the toxic effects, right? They literally are getting away from their desk. They're standing up. They're walking down and riding the elevator down. They're going into a courtyard. So they're outside. So they have some fresh air and then they breathe into toxic fumes into their lungs. But at the same time, there's all of those areas of taking a break from work. And also, if they do with someone else, they have a social aspect to it. So a lot of people were like, well, what should I do? So I recommended, well, either do this on your own and just free your mind completely with your own thoughts, or find a buddy and just go walk around the parking lot. So this building that it was in was a big parking lot, and people would just take a nice break and walk around the parking lot, right? Like the outer skirts of the parking lot, and just take a few laps, and they might go by themselves or with someone else. And it was a good break. And it would only last maybe 10 minutes, maybe. And so what we found, or what studies have found, is that you are more productive. It seems to a higher level management person, it seems like that doesn't make sense. I'm only getting at best 50 minutes. Let's call it even 45 minutes out of an hour of work. Well, if you really were to pay attention to people's productivity during an hour, I think you could find it's not even a half hour. It's a lot of distraction from your phone. It's a lot of, like moving your focus in different areas. So I think the ability to have a more focused block of time when you're at your desk, and then a planned, scheduled state break, right? To get away from that, fix your state, take a break from the work. I think you're more productive during that quality time that you're spending when you're focused on work.
That is a great point. There was a study done of judges who presided over parole hearings, and they looked at them in the morning, the percentage of people that would be paroled over the course of the day. It started out at around 60, 65%, somewhere in there. And over the course of the morning, went down, 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 till it finally hit zero. At which point the judges took a break. They had something to eat and drink. They had like 20 minutes, 30 minutes of rest. They came back. Sure enough, the amount of people paroled went back to about 60, 65%. This time it went down to zero faster. They had another break, had something to eat, something to drink, back to 60, 65%. And this time it was almost just like straight down to nothing towards the end of the day. Point is this, that when they talked to the judges about why that happened, they said, look, we're making really complex decisions. We're weighing whether or not somebody is going to be able to leave jail early who's committed a crime. We're deciding that they are no longer a risk to society. That takes a lot of mental power. It takes a lot of processing power. Our brains eat energy. And so at the beginning of the day, when they were nourished, when they were rested, and when they were hydrated, they were able to think that through, make good, solid decisions. As time went on, what they said was, the more tired I got, the less I felt capable of making complex decisions. I just defaulted to what was safest. Unfortunately, for somebody who was, up for parole just before their break, their chance of getting parole was nothing. So, if you ever find yourself in that situation, ask for your parole hearing at the beginning of the day, right after the judge has had his or her break. But it's a great way to illustrate how much processing power our brain has and how much energy it requires in order to function properly. And so I raise that to just augment what Dan said. That time away isn't time wasted. It's time rejuvenating. So when you come back, the work that you do is highly productive. And one other thing I put out on just a bigger level. So these are like things you can do during the day. But what about vacations? We're in summer. This is vacation time. Here's a sad fact. About 66% of Americans work while on vacation. And when they get back, they report resenting their work. So plan well and unplug and enjoy that time away. When you come back, you're going to be refreshed. People who actually did that reported not only being ready to work, but being happy to come back to work because they actually had a break from it. If everything just literally flows in, work flows into vacation, flows back into work, flows into home life, there's no opportunity for you to fully enjoy any one of those things. So it is absolutely essential to take a vacation. And the other thing that comes about is that if you're a man and you take annual vacations, you're about 32% less likely to die from heart disease and about 21% less likely to die from other causes than your non frequent vacationing counterparts. If you're a woman, there's also good news in there. A study that was done over several years looked at women who vacationed a couple times a year versus women who vacationed only once every 5 or 6 years. They were 8 times less likely to have a heart attack or develop coronary artery disease than their counterparts who took very infrequent vacations. Vacations not only are good for work in terms of productivity, they're good for your health. And Americans who have vacation time, 50% of them don't take time off. They have it and they don't take it. Take your vacation. Take a big break. You need it. It's good for you. It's good for your health. It's good for your company or your business.
Be aware of the bleed over effect. I'll give those judges a lot of credit. It's probably why they're judges. Their awareness of the fact that the reason there was a difference in deciding to parole people or not had to do with their energy levels or fueling their body. Most people are unaware of the bleed over effect, which is, why is this person being this way? Why is this person treating me this way? Why are we having this argument? I was in a good mood until this happened. There's all these effects that are just simply a bleed over of other things going on in your life. Could be that lack of energy. It could be that lack of sleep. It could be something, a bad conversation that happened before. It could be a number of things. But what ends up happening is you bleed it over from one prior thing to another thing. So how does this relevant to you is in when you have a decision that's important to make, no matter what, I would say, give yourself a rule, make up a rule, whether that's the 1 hour rule or the 24-hour rule or the 1 week rule, where if it's an important decision, it's a significant decision or cost you money, simply just say, you know what, I have my instinctual thought of what I want to do, but let me follow my rule. Let me take an hour and process this and maybe take a break in that hour. Or maybe you say, I have a 24-hour rule. Let me sleep on it. And then after a good night's sleep, I'm going to reprocess this and see if I still feel the same way, or whatever rule you make up. But take a break, because it's very possible, if not likely, that you'll experience the same bleed over effect that those judges did, right? That from whatever else is going on in your life, or for whatever a lack of energy or sleep that you got, you may make a decision that later you look back and go, why did I make that decision? Why did I do that? Why did I say that? And so it's good to take a break before making any important decision. And obviously, those judges had a very important decision to make, whether someone stayed in jail or were actually let out. So apply that to yourself and realize that this is true. The effects can bleed over, and you don't want to have something that could impact you. Now, what Ken said, the reason we are recording today, we just recorded on Sunday, and today is, what is today? Tuesday? So this is 2 days later, and typically we record once a week, is because I am taking our family vacation coming up this Saturday. And so I wanted to keep on our schedule, but still get this done, but not have to, quote, like Ken said, work on vacation. And my kids were saying this to me yesterday. They said, you work on every vacation. And I said, I do. But this year, I'm going to make a concerted effort to keep that to a minimum, if not at all. I think it'll be impossible to not at all, to not like check in or respond to something. But I want to make a concerted effort to truly not have scheduled work. So I'm scheduling stuff in advance to get done, or for right when I get back, so I can be most productive in my work, but also take full advantage of the vacation that I do. Because I really think the overall theme of give me a break or take a break is for people to recognize that the big break is that it's a vacation. And for those of you who think, yeah, nice for you to say because you can afford a vacation, I'll say take a staycation, right? Or like do a house swap with somebody. Literally, you could go to a friend and you could say, hey, you could work out of my house for a week or a period of days or a weekend, right? And you could say, maybe we can switch houses just so we have a change of scenery, right? Or find a way that you have an unutilized part of your own house that you could utilize. Maybe you have a nice patio or a gazebo or pool or something, right? Or maybe you live in a neighborhood or a city or town that has a really cool pond or lake or something, right? A community center that you could go, you know what, we're going to take a staycation, something that costs very little to nothing. and we're going to utilize something that we haven't really utilized. Take a break from your work and just go enjoy that and put that phone down and stay away from those stress response reactions and just really enjoy whatever your version of a vacation is, your break, as best as you can.
Couldn't have said it better myself, Dan. And while you were mentioning that, I am thinking ahead to my vacation coming about a week or two after yours. And the fact that I had not marked myself unavailable on my calendar, which I just did. So to all of you out there, have a great summer. Whenever your vacation comes, take advantage of it. If you haven't planned one, like Dan said, doesn't have to be fancy, doesn't even have to be out of town, doesn't have to be out of the house. There are so many different ways that you can give yourself a break in the process, extend your life, literally, and make yourself more productive, more creative, and more profitable.